Yeah. So when it comes to inspiration, I think that, there was a sense after Lighthouse Keeper, at least by myself, and I think by Luke as well, that we wanted to make something that was very dialogue driven and something that was much more cerebral and contained than Lighthouse Keeper was. And, to that we looked at, when I was writing this, I looked at scenes from, everything I probably will ever make will be inspired by American Psycho in some capacity, but
I just watched it again just recently.
Yeah. And then also like just watching anything Aaron Sorkin, The Social Network, West Wing, Few Good Men, anything that was basically building tension and developing character through solely dialogue is something that I really drew from a lot. And, I just wanted to build everything within the film through what the characters were saying rather than what they were doing.
Exactly. Yeah, I think overall we want it to be like really solid and consistent. Lighthouse Keeper was pretty good, but it was kind of all over the place, very abstracted, I think. And Diner was definitely a lot more solid, over the top. We really took our time to plan out things. So actually you can see here, I'll throw up the footage of the storyboarding that we did. We took a good amount of time storyboarding every shot, making sure we knew exactly how long each shot would take. And overall, we really spent a good amount of time in pre-production, making sure that we knew what we were going into the day of filming. So
I think it really helped us, especially when it comes to, just that last part, knowing exactly what a day on set would look like before we even ever got there.
Right.
We only had 2 days in the restaurant, and we were, down to 6 people on set, including talent. So we really needed to be each individual person as efficient as possible. And I think so, like, when it comes to us doing so much work ahead of time, that really helped when it came to actually like executing what we needed to get done.
Right. So something we can even show off too is essentially the footage of the behind the scenes here. We can see the lighting setup was pretty big actually, but we had to make sure we tested this lighting setup before we actually were on set to make sure it looked good. We did some research. We saw that we liked the Cove lighting that Roger Deakins used, and so we wanted to kind of play off that a little bit. But yeah, you can see here with the lighting, we tried taking heavy inspiration from Roger Deakins because we just like the natural look of this Cove lighting. Yeah, we made sure we had everything rock solid before going into the actual day of filming.
Yeah, I think that really, like, I think we both agree that it helped so much on set, but it was really important that we were both on the same page, especially in pre-production, which is something that like honestly I think this might have been the first time that we were like so in tune with what we both wanted from it, compared to like our past projects. And when we talked so much and we tested so much before actually shooting that when it came day of, it allowed us to kind of like let that aspect go a little bit. Like we knew what we both wanted, so we knew that it would turn out that way because we tested it so thoroughly. So it really allowed us to focus on how the actors were doing and any other variable that we ended up running into on set, and having in a strange way to worry less about the final outcome because we had already done so much work to get it to the point where we felt that it was there already.
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest lesson learned here was pre-production, and I think for our future films we're going to spend even more time in pre-production for our next film coming out, hopefully next year, but it should be next year, which is going to be a huge task, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, for real. One thing I just want to let, especially when it goes into the writing, so much more in pre-production. This was something that, like I said earlier, I just wanted to write something that was cerebral, dialogue driven, and then I had a draft and I hated it, and then I threw it away, and then I rewrote it, and then that's pretty much what I ended up doing. And I even got to a point where there was a draft very similar, what I would call a first draft of this film. I wasn't in love with it. I gave it to Luke, and Luke loved it. Luke was like, we have to make this. This is going to be great. So that kind of like lit the fire, and I was like, okay, I'll rewrite it. And I just kind of kept, in 7 or 8 drafts later, we landed on the dialogue that we had in the final film, more or less. And, you know, it was just a testament to like how in tune we were, you know, not at the beginning and then by the end. You know, it was an idea that I didn't like at the beginning, and then, you know, Luke was in love with it, and I was like, okay, we'll do it. And then as we kept going, I fell in love with it, and I was like, all right, this is great. I'm very happy that I was wrong and Luke was right, especially in that early stage.
Yeah, it was almost a throwaway at first. You thought nothing of it, and I saw it, and I actually really liked it. So yeah, we definitely spent a lot of time revising it, though, reading over it, seeing what sounded best, and making any changes that we thought were necessary. And hopefully, I think at least it's a very solid piece of dialogue, piece of work, piece of writing, where we ended up. So hopefully people agree with that.
The hardest part was definitely going. I mean, there was multiple times where me, Luke, and Alex would just sit in my basement or Luke's room and just like read it and change it and read it and change it. And it's because, you know, like to hold an entire film solely through two characters' dialogue and what they're saying is very, very difficult. So, you know, when things finally came out and people were like, oh yeah, you know, it felt like 3 minutes or 4 minutes. That's the best compliment that you could give, I feel like. As a
it's very hard to do.
Because it made, especially like on my end, and I'm sure on Luke's end, like it made it feel very validated. Like the film didn't linger on. It was very much quick, and that's what we were definitely going for when it came to the dialogue.
Agreed. Yeah, let's move on to talking about the actors, the wonderful actors we were blessed with for this film. Of course, we were using our De Niro, Evan Sellis, who has significantly helped our production for this film. He's actually the one that got us this diner to use, or this restaurant to use, because it was one of his family members owned the restaurant. So that was a huge help during these COVID times that it's very hard to get in anywhere. So thank you, Evan, for that. And then besides that, the acting was incredible. I really think that Evan and Nick brought a step up from our last films. Evan and Nick actually got together in practice for a good 3 to 4 hours before the actual film. So they were already comfortable being in their character, and they had read through the lines many times. So having that dedication really helped pull this film together. Without their acting, this film wouldn't have flowed the way it did. So we're very thankful for having both of them.
Yeah, especially when it comes to talking about people that saw more in the script than we did originally. I think when we first gave Evan a copy, it was a pretty early draft, and frankly, it was probably a lot different. It sounded a lot different than it does in the end. And he loved it right away. I remember him texting me over and over saying, man, this is gonna be so good, I can't wait. And then eventually actually shifting into like a producer role, you know, helping us find Nick. Someone who, I mean, the funny story is, you know, the first time Evan read it, you know, we're all together shooting something for Lighthouse Keeper, I don't even remember what, and he's reading it and he's like, I know the old guy, I got him already. And
right.
You know, me and Luke are both like, oh, okay, like who is it or whatever. And you know, he starts to explain that it's this, you know, this is his priest or whatever, and we're like, okay, a little wary at the beginning, and then even wary up until, you know, the first table read, which you know, was great. You know, I pretty much right when I heard both of them reading to each other, at which point they hadn't practiced together or anything, I knew that it was going to be pretty good. I knew that once they had started to practice and started to get into it more, that they would be able to play off each other. And, you know, Nick is so great in it. You know, we couldn't have asked for more. And he's a trooper on set, you know, never a complaint. And, you know, a stickler for continuity when we needed it. Definitely helped on that end as well. So yeah, we're super thankful for both of those guys. And, you know, Bella too. You know, Bella, her role is smaller in this, obviously, but you know, she's the first person you see on screen. She's very important in establishing the scenario that you watch throughout the rest of the film. So to have her, you know, never really have acted before and then come on set and be very open-minded to what she has to do and very open to taking, you know, direction and criticism and stuff like that, and then turn it around into pretty much exactly what I imagined when I wrote her character. It's great.
That's perfect. Yeah.
The funny part is, like, you know, I told her, practice your lines with chewing gum. And then on set, you know, she had like 3 or 4 pieces of gum in her mouth. And she was like, this is ridiculous. And I was like, well, you know, do it. And then she like, no complaints, you know? After that, she was like, all right, it's what's got to happen. It's what's got to happen. And, you know, she was great.
Yeah, all of our actors were really troopers, and they couldn't have been better, honestly. I think it worked out so perfectly. And one of my biggest concerns was actually finding an older person to act for us. You know, it's like, it's kind of a hard niche to be in. You know, it's rare to find an older person who wants to do some free short film work. And when Evan said he's got the guy, I was like, my expectations were pretty low. And then we saw a picture of him, and we're like, this is perfect. It's exactly how I imagined. They actually even look alike. Like Evan and Nick, they kind of look similar. Like he could be his dad almost, I think. So, yeah, overall, we got super lucky with all of our actors. So thank you. If you're watching this video, actors, thank you very much for your hard work and your dedication to our film. So.
No, I mean, for sure. I mean, I think it even plays into the part that, you know, me and Luke both went into this. In pre-production, we talked a lot about, you know, we're going to do as many takes as it needs, and then we'll do a few more. So, like, it plays into that, them being troopers aspect is, you know, that's a big difference when it comes to how we ran this production compared to Lighthouse Keeper or anything before that, is that, you know, if I had thought, okay, Evan got that in the second take, we had 6 takes because I wanted to do more. And I wanted to make sure that we had options to play with. And I think that helped a lot in the edit. You know, when we're sitting there and we're watching, well, I think 2 hours of the same lines being said over and over again, yeah, it might be a little daunting, but, you know, when you find the diamond in the rough from a take that you wanted to throw away, but he says one line exactly how you wanted it, you know, that's what we did it for, and that's what it's all about. And we couldn't have done it if they weren't such troopers, and I'm sure they got annoyed with us.
Right. Well, we were doing so many takes that I actually got sick of doing takes, yet none of the actors ever complained about it, and they're the ones in front of the camera. Evan probably smoked a pack of cigarettes that day, and he never complained. I actually think he kind of enjoyed it, to be honest with you. So, yeah, thank you again for your dedication. It does not go unnoticed. Thank you guys for watching another BTS for our film. If you still haven't seen the film, why are you watching this right now? Go click the link in the description right now and watch that film. We put a lot of hard work into this film. But besides that, our next work may be a while. It might not be. I'm not going to say. But always expect something from us. We're going to strive to get better and better for each film. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. We've attracted a crowd.